It's Tessa Tuesday.
I'm still taking my first steps. I'm still learning to crawl. Hi, everybody. I used to think it was literally impossible for me to learn a language. I remember the first time someone brought Spanish into school. We were learning what the colors were in Spanish, and I was just amazed by how quickly the other kids could pick up on it. Years later, when I tried to take Spanish in high school, I felt overwhelmed by the amount of vocabulary on the worksheet and the idea that I was expected to memorize all this for a test. I knew other people did it, but it felt impossible. Anyway, recently I took a trip to Peru and I decided now is the time I'm learning Spanish. So I spent 3 weeks cramming Spanish by doing a language by ear program and making my own flashcards for the words I wanted to learn. Could I speak Spanish by the time I went? No, but it was a start. I feel like the difference between learning in school and learning now was that in school, it always felt like a test that I was failing. But learning at home, I got to learn at my own pace and more creatively and without someone watching me. And I think that is a key point for me. To me, it felt safer to learn alone. But there is a problem with trying to learn a language alone. The entire point is communication. So yes, I feel like I'm starting to be able to speak un poco, but every time someone speaks to me in Spanish, I go into a freeze state. No puedo entender. And I'm curious why. I think 2 reasons. One, I simply do not have enough practice being in conversation with other people, and it's hard for me to expect myself to be good at something I don't practice. And 2, I think the reason people say it's more difficult to learn a language as an adult is grown-ups have a lower tolerance for feeling stupid. I'll speak for myself. I feel shame when I don't understand. As you can imagine, this is a pretty big hurdle if you're trying to learn a language. So I'm deciding, enough's enough. I am not going to let my fear of feeling stupid get in the way of me learning something I want to learn. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do a language immersion program, and after 18 years, I'm going back to school.
If knowledge is power, then I'm choosing freedom. I don't know a thing, but I trust I'm believing. And it's not a test, it's my first time living. I won't do it perfectly, I'm just beginning.
Hello, I am Tessa Violet, and welcome to Tessa Tuesday. You may know me from TikTok, or you may already be a fan. Stop. This year I'm releasing my new album, There Will Be Joy, 1 song at a time, 1 month at a time. And along with each song, I'm doing a companion vlog where I do a challenge tangentially related to the theme of the song. I went through a lot of growth this past year, so themes of the album include being gentle with yourself, hope, and a willingness to be wrong. Anyway, this is the companion challenge for my song, I Love Being Wrong. And I thought, what thing do you have to be willing to be more wrong in than learning a language? Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get into my rules and tools for this challenge. Yeah. The premise for this one is pretty simple. I'll be taking Spanish class 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Insane. And I have 3 weeks to learn as much Spanish as I can before I play a show where I will speak exclusively in Spanish. I hope. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. To do this, I'll be going to the Canary Islands, a group of islands off the coast of Morocco, and doing Spanish school. I do feel like I need to mention that I picked the Canary Islands and not my neighbors Mexico because I have family in the Canary Islands. Mexico, what I need you to know es tienes mi corazón. Por supuesto. Te quiero. Y chingona si te quiero. And I hope to come back and play a show someday soon. And I hope you won't hold it against me that I chose to learn Spanish somewhere else. Anyway, the tools. I have 3 tools for this one. First, as always, noticing. So the idea is to non-judgmentally just notice what's happening inside of you. And that's what most of this video will be. Not so much how am I literally learning Spanish, as I've just told you, but how does it feel to be a grown-up learning something for the first time? What do I notice? My second tool is a beginner's mindset. I won't do it perfectly, I'm just beginning. And my third and final tool, being gentle with myself. So yeah, pretty straightforward. And with that, I'm going to board a plane, fly halfway across the planet, and attempt to learn Spanish. I will see you in 1 week.
Hola,
¿Cómo estás? All right, week 1 done. And I got to hang out with my brother, Lucas. I asked Lucas to make a video conmigo where I can see how much I can understand. Here's him describing a movie. Let's see if you can guess what the movie is before I guess.
All right, this one, you have to know it. Va de unas abejas
¿Sí?
que, bueno, en concreto el personaje principal es una abeja que se va a trabajar haciendo su miel y se encuentra con una chica muy guapa, una chica humana, y se enamora de esta chica. Y eso crea problemas porque esa chica tiene novio humano y ese novio odia las abejas, las odia. By that you have to know it.
Okay, there's a girl and he's in love with her, but
No,
there's a problem.
it's a...
No, okay, already wrong. Great. I love being wrong.
Let me give you a tip.
Sí.
All right, so it's not a girl that's in love with another girl. It's a bee that's in love with
Is
another.
it the bee movie?
Yes?
Está muy bien. Gracias.
A ti.
So as you can see, no puedo entender. Pero I'm reminding myself that I am just beginning. And this is just my starting point. It's not a test and I don't need to get it right on the first try. So there. I had a thought earlier that as a student, parte de mi trabajo is to get it wrong. If I already know all the answers, I wouldn't be the student. I'd be the teacher. Anyway, Dante and I started our classes in Espanol. It is every weekday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and the teacher speaks entirely in Spanish. And unfortunately, I have made a terrible mistake. So the A1 course, the absolute beginners course, it's taught in 4-week blocks. And when I booked the class, I was under the understanding that I was going to come in at the beginning of the 3rd week. So, it would be challenging for me, but not impossible, hopefully. Unfortunately, when I wake up on the first day of the class, I have an email saying, "Where you been, Loca? We missed you last week." I booked the class for the wrong week. This means I'm starting on day 17 of a 20-day course. No tengo suficiente vocabulario para week 4 of A1. Listen, it's not ideal. After the first class, I spoke to Gabriel. He was like, "Just come back tomorrow. You will understand more, I promise." And I was like, yeah, I doubt that, but bien. I think nodding and smiling is doing too much for me. Anyway, day 2 was amazing. I was comprehending. Not all of it, obviously, but some of it I can follow, and we're like laughing, we're making jokes. I'm making jokes in Espanol. It's a good time. And the rest of the week's classes went great. Definitely the progress graph looks like this, not like this, but I'm trusting the process. One thing that is funny is that I notice my English grammar is starting to mirror the level at which I can speak in Spanish. And the other thing I notice is that I feel a conflicted emotion about that. Like on one hand, it kind of makes me feel excited because it's fun to witness something within me changing. And it makes me feel that I'm still having an opportunity to practice my Spanish, even when I no longer have the bandwidth at the end of the day to summon the vocabulary. But then there's another voice inside me that says, "Oh, you think you're cool because you're learning Spanish? And now you're gonna talk like you speak Spanish and English? You just want attention." And then I notice yet another voice that asks, "Why do you think it's bad to want attention?" I also notice that when I hear Spanish being spoken, my default state is to immediately tune out, which I think makes sense when I've spent my entire life not being able to understand. I'm just not trained yet to remember that maybe I can understand. Does this make sense? I'm like embarrassed to say this part of it, but so for this first day of class especially, I am spending almost every minute having to remind myself, no, listen to what's being said. What words can you find that you recognize? Then I noticed that tuning into Spanish feels very similar to my experience of meditation. Often when I'm meditating, I have this thought of, I want to be a person who has the peace that connecting to the present moment brings me, but I don't want to do the work of connecting to the present moment. So I'll notice that I'm thinking and be like, here's the invitation. Let go of this thought and be present now. But I think, I'll let go and be present in a second. I want to know where this thought is going. But no, the invitation is now. Let go and be present here now. Another thing I noticed is that there are glimpses of being able to understand Spanish. And then there are whole moments where I'm just comprehending. And it doesn't even feel like we're speaking Spanish. It just feels like comprehending. It's magical. And mostly, no puedo entender nada. Like for whole sections of class, I have no idea what's happening. But still, I am learning. So I think that's all from week 1. Oh, not related to Spanish, but I did my first charity live stream for Tessa Tuesday. My goal was to raise $500 for Mira, which is a local Minneapolis organization. And we raised $2,700. So that was awesome. You guys, I was really nervous about doing it because I'd never done a charity live stream before and I was just afraid that I wouldn't do it right, doing enough. But finally I just said to myself, Tessa, don't let the fear of doing something imperfectly stop you from doing something. And I'm so proud of myself. And I'm so grateful to everybody who came out, who gave money. Everybody can make a difference. Things are very overwhelming right now, and it's easy to look at it and feel a freeze state from being like, I can't fix all of it. But you don't need to fix all of it. In fact, you can't. It must be a communal experience. So what will feel good to do, actually, because it does. It feels good to help, and you can do it. Anyway, that's all for week 1. I will see you, for me, in 1 week, and for you, instantly. Buena! I can do hard things. Windows unfold and the land ends. Week 2! Hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, ¿y tú? Y'all, I am getting better at Spanish. Honestly, siento que estoy fantástico. I am amazing. ¿Cómo se dice? I am amazing. I'm learning. I'm growing. You can't stop me. Sí, creo es muy bien. Okay, so that's week 2 finished. We took Saturday to explore the island. We are staying on the north side of Las Palmas, so we took a car. We went up the montaña, up the mountain. We saw Tenerife. We ate lots of beautiful food. We saw the ocean. I pondered. Honestly, I have like way more footage than I think I have ways to describe it, but it was a really fun day, and the south side of the island is so beautiful, as is the north side of the island. Bien. Anyway, then Monday morning. ¿Cómo se dice food poisoning? Te digo una cosa. Let me tell you something. It was like a really nice hell. Like, you know, I'm safe, I'm in an apartment, I'm with my loved one. Really the only issue is that we're vomiting and shitting and only have 1 bathroom. So, all things considered, you know. Entonces, I did miss some school this week, but let's get into what I noticed. Okay, so as you remember, last week I did the 4th week of the A1 course. So naturally, I thought that I was going to have a heads up. Perhaps I will be more knowledge than the other students in week 1 of A1 when I tell you no. Literally everyone in my class seemingly speaks great Spanish. Entonces, otra vez, I'm the student who knows the least, again. And I'm like, ¿cómo? Esto es A1. No, porque ya todos pueden hablar español. My one saving grace is that now because it's week 1, I feel comfortable asking questions, whereas in week 4, I didn't want to ask too much because I didn't want to slow down the other students who'd already done 4 weeks of work. Learning to understand Spanish reminds me so much of learning to move my spine in physical therapy. When I first came to physical therapy, my therapist was like, yeah, so you have like almost no movement from here to here in your spine. And I was like, yeah, that's because spines don't move there. And he's like, yeah, it's supposed to. So my physical therapist says to me, listen, it's not that that part of your back can't move. It's that your brain's map to that part of your body has gotten blurry from lack of practice. So your brain literally doesn't remember the connection from like asking it to move and moving. So to learn how to move that part of my spine, I would lay flat on the floor with an eraser in between 2 vertebrae. And he would say, okay, now try and pinch that eraser with your spine. And at first it's like, nothing's happening. You know, you're trying. And then all at once you just feel this little sensation of like electricity. And you keep practicing, you keep searching for that feeling, and eventually it becomes very natural and you learn. But the first part of the process was changing the story I told myself about what is possible. I knew that part of people's back doesn't move. So to begin, I'm learning to open. I'm letting it go. The need to be right, the need to control. You know, we're letting hope in through the cracks we create when we start telling a new story. If you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, Maybe I could start trying to tell a new story in a few fronts in my life, but it feels like too much. Like sometimes I am like, just try saying I'm a bad bitch, a very bad bitch, B-A-D, that's me, that bitch. And people are like, I can't say that, it's not true. And I'm like, I see you need to be right, pero está bien. Instead of saying I am a bad bitch, you can say, maybe I'm a bad bitch. Maybe I like myself. Maybe I deserve gentleness. Maybe I'm letting love in. Maybe I'm learning to grow. Just putting the word maybe in the front of the sentence, I think, can be a gateway into hope. And I did not think of that, so that's not an original idea. Anyway, it also feels similar because I'm having these sparks of connection between learning to move my back and learning to understand. And the connections become longer and more frequent as I keep working that muscle. All my notes from this class are like, Spanish, 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 and then just one sentence of a note of something I want to remember for this video. Is it annoying that I don't know enough? I never feel like the teacher is annoyed with me, but sometimes I project that the other students are, or I worry that they're judging me. And de hecho, maybe they are, but whether or not they are, I actually can't know if that's true. I don't know. And what is for certain is that when it comes to judgment, the call is coming from inside the house. I am projecting that someone else thinks I am annoying, but that person in my head that's judging me is me. I am judging myself as annoying. Entonces, I can just stop. I'm doing a mentorship with Claudia Cuentas, and one of the things she talked about this week is just noticing when the nervous system is expanded or contracted. Constricted? Like neither is good or bad. A healthy nervous system should be able to live in the middle and be able to expand or contract when needed. So anyway, I'm noticing in class that when I feel embarrassed, I feel constricted. And when I'm constricted, it makes it so much harder to find the words in Spanish and to understand what's being said to me. It's hard to flow when you're not open. So I'm sort of thinking, can I practice being open and trusting that within this context, Spanish class, it actually is safe to be open. I'm not going to be harmed. I might feel embarrassed or get something wrong, but actually it is safe to be embarrassed and to get something wrong. Lastly, I just want to say that Friday morning, finally, I understood almost everything that Gabrielle said. It really is like, I don't want to overuse the word amazing, but I feel like I'm in awe. And it's interesting that it doesn't, when you're understanding, it doesn't feel like Spanish. It just feels like understanding. Does that make sense? Okay, that's all for me this week. Next week I have my show. Entonces, I know that in the timeline I will have already done it, but please, wish me luck. Wish me luck mentally. Send it back in time toward me. Okay. Bien. Mwah. I'd like to take a brief moment to thank the sponsor of this video, literally my Patreon. Every month on Patreon, I have these postcards that is the album art of the single from this month's song. On the back, there's a printed quote from the song, and then I autograph each one. This was last month's. It says, "Give yourself the grace to try again." And this is the single art for "I Love Being Wrong." This is a painting by Jeremy Miranda. I love the image of an open door that seems to say to me, it's as simple as being willing to walk through. And on the back, I have the lyric, "It's not a test." Also on my web store, I do these monthly patches, but each month is the name of the song at the location that I filmed the live video. The postcard and the patch for "I Love Being Wrong" is available until the first Tuesday of March when it switches over to my next song, a cleanup song. Thank you so much to my patrons and everybody who buys a patch for your support. And now, back to the video. Yay! When I said I can do hard things, I meant it. If we were observing a pattern in the challenges so far, we're discovering that if I'm going to cry, week 3 is the week I'm going to do it. So imagine we're in class. We'll read from the textbook a block of text in Spanish, and Gabrielle will say, "What words do you not understand?" ¿Qué significa nublado? ¿Qué significa el bosque? And I ask, ¿Qué significa UNESCO? When I tell you, some of the students found that so funny that I would ask, what is UNESCO? In my defense, it's not capitalized in the way that I am familiar with it, and it's in a big block of Spanish text. Anyway, in hindsight, I can be curious that maybe they were just laughing because they're like, isn't it funny that we don't recognize words we know in this context? But at the time, it felt like, this dumb American bitch is so stupid. Anyway, I wrote down, wow, getting laughed at has really thrown me. I wish I was someone who could laugh off getting laughed at, and maybe I can be, which I think is, very sweet. But in the moment, I felt totally disconnected from learning. I noticed how tight my nervous system felt. And I was like, oh, here's the opportunity. I wonder if I can relax, trusting that the only thing that's going to happen is that I feel embarrassed. So I took a deep breath and tried to just unclench my body and relax. And I did, and I was like, oh, I'm going to start crying. And I had to get up and go to the bathroom so I could have a little cry. I feel a little embarrassed about that, to be honest with you, even though I know I can't be the only person to have had this experience, even at the brave age of 36. I'm sure many of us feel sensitive to being laughed at, but it surprised me how hard I cried about it, especially because I'm not generally a big crier. And it made me think I understand why Claudia said that a healthy nervous system isn't like totally expanded. You know, it's able to be in the middle and choose when to get big and when to get small. Because I was like, yeah, it's not ideal that I'm crying in class right now. But you know, I live to tell the tale. The next day, one of the students who had laughed at me asked me if I was in class yesterday. So it's like, I know that wasn't a big moment for her. She doesn't even remember that I was there yesterday. So I don't know. Even this is a good learning experience because it makes me wonder, what times may I have made someone feel small that I don't even remember? And how can I be more deliberate about creating a space where people feel really safe to get it wrong and to learn something new? So I forgive her and I forgive myself for the times that I didn't notice. Anyway, despite this one moment, it was actually a really wonderful week. I'm understanding so much of the Spanish. I like my teacher so much. Honestly, I wish this wasn't my last week. I love getting to observe my growth, not just in Spanish, but as a student. And it makes me think of how different it feels to be in school now as a grown-up versus as a kid. When I was a kid, learning didn't feel like it was about learning at all. It felt like it was about passing tests, or ideally, acing them. Like the story that my educators gave me was, if you want to have a good life, you have to have a good career. So you have to get in a good college. So you have to get good grades. So you have to pass this test. And I was never good at passing tests, so. But being in school now, there literally is no test. Like the entire point is just to learn. There are no stakes. If you get it wrong, that's a part of your learning, not a point against you. So that makes me notice that I feel a little bit sad for my child self. You know, I always hated school, but it turns out that I love learning. And maybe I could have discovered that sooner if the entire American school system were different. You know, I don't know. I'm glad I got an education, so it's not all bad, but it could be better. Anyway, that was week 3, which finally brings us to the show. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling in my element. And I'm feeling not nervous about Spanish. Porque en realidad, siento que tengo suficiente español a decir el cosas que quiero a decir. And because, like I say in my song, it's not a test. And I actually can fall back on my English if I need to. It was so wonderful to get to meet fans from the Canary Islands, to spend time with family. I feel like I did a really good job with my Spanish and I sang really well. So I've started this tradition of bringing this camcorder, which is very similar to the camcorder I first started posting YouTube videos on almost 20 years ago. That's insane. But at the beginning of the show, I just explained that I'm going to pass it to the audience and ask them to pass it around and film it. So I think the camera got turned off on accident at one point, but I am going to upload the whole show to Patreon if you want to see the whole experience. Yeah, what can I tell you are my takeaways? Life's not a test. It's a learning opportunity. I'm a smart cookie. And I love getting it wrong. Because every time I get something wrong, it's an opportunity for me to learn something new. And I love learning. So thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, please listen to my new song that inspired this trip, I Love Being Wrong. It's on my YouTube channel, or if you want, you can watch my mom live react to the music video, also very cutesy. If you're watching this the day it comes out, I am live tonight on Twitch at 5 p.m. PST, raising money for my friend Trina's friend's family in Gaza. It's for a good cause, y'all. We are for a free Palestine. So even if you don't have any money, please come hang out because they're a good time. I'm gonna put tattoos on my face and sing songs and be silly. To end this video, I have one more clip with my brother where I try and guess the movie. But this time, I have 3 weeks of practice under my belt. Thanks for watching, and remember, it's not a crime to get it wrong. All right, bye!
Knowledge is power, then I'm choosing freedom. I don't know a thing, but I trust I'm
Alright. hay un niño pequeño
Sí.
con su perro.
Sí.
Y el niño pequeño va casa a casa.
Up.
Yeah,
¿Sí?
what? Yeah. What? Oh my
Uno más,
God.
uno más.
Oh my God. Holy cow, okay. Yo.
Estoy aprendiendo.
How'd you get that? Okay.
Listo.
Okay. Hay un hombre
Sí.
que sale de la cárcel y su hermano lo recoge en un coche de policía. Y van por la ciudad buscando un lugar para quedarse a dormir.
Okay, there's a castle?
No.
Okay, bien. Pero there is a police car.
Yeah.
Por
yeah,
seguro.
Yeah.
Más.
Y la policía
Sí.
les está persiguiendo a ellos dos, que son hermanos. Y ellos, los hermanos, necesitan dinero. Así que el plan es reunir un grupo de música.
Is it Blues Brothers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfecto.
Right on. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Bien.
You got it.
Muy perfecto.
Muy perfecto, muy perfecto.